So I've seen a couple movies now that I didn't get a chance to review on their own, but I did want to talk to you guys about. There's a couple of pretty significant releases in here, and it's either like I didn't get the time to for whatever reason, or as you'll see with a lot of these movies, I honestly didn't have too much to say. So 2025, again, I hate to keep reiterating, I have nothing to comment on most of the time. Every movie's fine. Every movie is like a mediocre to a just okay. I don't know. I've felt kind of burnt out, if I'm being honest, but you know, we're gonna push through the end of this year, and we're gonna hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, have a better 2026 in terms of film quality overall. But all of that aside, let's just jump right into the first movie. Honey Don't is the new film from Joel Cohen. It is the second movie in his lesbian crime trilogy. Obviously, that was a follow-up to last year's Drive-Away Dolls, which I really liked. I think that movie had a lot of charm to it, and the promise behind these kinds of movies was something that was a lot more appealing to me than some other people. But with Honey Don't, I think it may have ran its course a bit. I didn't hate it at all. I think Margaret Qualley does a much better job in this film than she did in Drive-Away Dolls. I think that just from there and now, she has really come into her own as an actress and has given some of the best performances of the decade, and she has those under her belt. So she really fits better in this film. Her range is a bit larger now, if that makes any sense. So I liked her a lot in this movie. I liked Chris Evans in this film. It's weird because, you know, I was ready to write him off. Oh, he was just an action star. He's just Captain America, and that's all he'll be for the rest of his career. But he has done a really good job of kind of rehabilitating his image and becoming a different, more serious type of actor. And I mean serious, obviously he's playing a very comedic role in this film, but somebody to be taken seriously. And I really liked his antagonistic role in this film. I didn't find the movie to be all that interesting outside of those elements. I think it was very visually barren. I think it didn't leave anything to be desired in that way. I think Aubrey Plaza was not miscast, but underutilized in the film a lot. I didn't love Charlie Day. But mainly, this film was directionless. It never wanted to stick to a certain path, nor, you know, take paths that were interesting. It always was kind of muddled and really didn't know what it wanted to do with itself. So I didn't hate it, but it's not really going to stick in my memory all that much, other than just being really messy. And especially that third act, the movie just kind of falls apart. So again, not awful, and I'm still very much open to the idea of the third film in this trilogy. It's just that Honey Don't was kind of a swing and a miss for me. 2.5 out of 5. Highest to Lowest is the remake of Akira Kurosawa's classic Japanese film High and Low, and it obviously comes to us from Spike Lee. This was a movie I was pretty excited for. I had found out about it forever ago. I think it was either at TIFF or Cannes, one of those festivals it premiered at, and I had heard about it from there. And, you know, obviously I'm a huge Spike Lee fan, so this was a movie I was really looking forward to. And at first I was kind of like, oh, why is this movie not being released widely? Why are we not getting all, you know, promotional material for this film? I don't really understand. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, this movie is odd. It's not bad at all. I think that it is a decent enough reimagining of the original film. Denzel Washington does a phenomenal job in the lead role, as he always does. I really liked his chemistry with Jeffrey Wright. I think they play really well off of each other. I think that A$AP Rocky did a really phenomenal job in this film. I think visually it's very energetic and spry. I loved the music behind it all. It's all dressed up and made to be, you know, your average Spike Lee film, a decent movie. It's kind of hard for him to really make a crap movie. However, I think when you dive deeper into it and start to dissect it a little bit more, the more it tends to fall apart. This movie is kitschy. It is incredibly kitschy, and I think it leans way too hard into those aspects. I think the film really struggles narratively and in its script. So I think while I admire what Spike is doing here, and obviously, again, like I said earlier, he's kind of incapable of making a really terrible movie if we're not counting that weird Old Boy remake, I just felt underwhelmed by this, and like he could have done so much more other than just slightly changing some things of one of his favorite movies. So again, on principle, it's not a bad film, but it is a really odd career choice for Lee. 3 out of 5. The Long Walk has been getting a lot of buzz, and I really don't know why. This is one of the more puzzling films of the year. I do really like Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson's chemistry in the film. I know I keep saying that, like, I for some reason, all of these films have the theme of I really liked the performances, but this movie was really circling the drain and didn't ever push any ideas forward. It was very surface level. It was very unremarkable, and I think that these kinds of dialogue heavy films that really rely on relationships between the characters need good dialogue, and this film just didn't have that. I think it was trying to cash in on the whole Hunger Games, Squid Game phrase thing that always makes a shit ton of money, and obviously it worked, but I think that this film comes apart because it doesn't have those exciting elements, but it also doesn't have anything else. I'm gonna give The Long Walk a 2 out of 5. I didn't expect much out of Nobody 2. However, I was a little bit disappointed. Nobody 1 was this lightning in a bottle, nobody saw this coming type of movie. Really gave Bob Odenkirk something really fun to do, and also was a legitimately intriguing, heart-pumping, raw action film. And with this movie, I think it was in on the Nobody joke a little bit too much. It was very aware of how that movie became kind of a meme and became popular for reasons that studios don't really understand. However, when they try to cash in on a film like that, this is what normally happens. And I'm not, Nobody 2 isn't unwatchable. There are elements of it I really like, especially the RZA cameo. Him as a samurai is fantastic, but we don't get to spend enough time with the other supporting characters. I think his family wasn't utilized in the correct way. I think that the setting was really corny. I just feel like this movie leaned so heavily into the silliness, into the action comedy of it all, and forgot that, well, everybody loved the first Nobody because it had white-knuckled action sequences. Taking that away from this film and taking that element of shock value, I don't know, it really devalues this franchise and kind of makes me uninterested in any other Nobody projects moving forward. 2 out of 5. Funny enough, I forgot to talk about this movie in the last roundup review. I don't really know why or what happened. I think I just filmed it and totally forgot to talk about it. However, Ballerina was a cool installment into the John Wick franchise. I don't have a ton to say about it. It was heart-pumping. I think that Ana de Armas really fits into this role really well. Its way of connecting itself to the John Wick franchise was great. I think the first 45 minutes or so are very take it or leave it. I was checking in and out, and then the last back half of the film was really interesting, and I was really enthralled, and I think that they really got you to care about her character enough to do the fireworks action sequence thing at the end, and it really worked. So what I thought was going to be a really whatever spin-off ended up just being another solid addition to the franchise, and I think that most people who are fans of John Wick are going to be happy with Ballerina. So light 3.5 out of 5. The Smashing Machine is the long-awaited return of Benny Safdie, obviously one of the brothers behind Good Time and Uncut Gems, some of the most influential films of the 2010s, and it's been a while since we've seen him behind the camera, and he finally returns to us with The Smashing Machine, and I liked it. I thought it was a very interesting experiment. The Rock brings an element to this film that I wasn't expecting him to. I think that a lot of people were really worried that marketing scheme just to win an Oscar. While you can see some of that in the trailers and the actual marketing of film, I think that his performance here is something we aren't used to and have really never seen before. I've never seen somebody go from being this completely coasting on charm and star value guy who plays the same character in every movie. Somebody like a Jason Statham, or The Rock is literally the king of this archetype. I've never seen somebody like him switch over to a dramatic role like this and just completely plunge himself into it. Benny Safdie is obviously known for this kind of thing with Adam Sandler, getting a performance out of him that people didn't even think was possible. And I think that this is an even greater feat because all along you can kind of tell that Sandler was a great actor, he just didn't try a whole ton. I legitimately thought this is just who The Rock was. But he brought his all and really was the perfect choice for playing a guy like Mark Kerr. I honestly couldn't see anybody else in this role. Another really interesting element of this is Emily Blunt. I thought she played her role very well. I think, well, obviously she's fantastic in everything that she's in. I think she adds an element of realism to this film that wouldn't have been there without her. I think Benny Safdie having total control over the film works for it and goes against it in some ways. I think visually this is such an interesting film, always keeping you on your toes. The camera's always moving, there's no static shots. The score is very jazzy and again pushes and chugs the movie along. And I think that the way he frames certain sequences really takes the pressure out of them in a really good way. It makes them more somber and quiet because they hit with so much more of an emotional impact that way. So I really loved a lot of his decisions behind the camera. However, I do think that this movie structurally does falter a bit. I think the film really loses a lot of steam towards the end. I think that it goes in a lot of repetitive directions. I think that casting Ryan Bader as a main role in the film was just not a good idea. He doesn't know how to act. He's not an actor. I was very confused by that, and seeing him fumble through all of his parts was not fun. And I just think that if this movie was filtered a little bit more, if it was, Benny Safdie was put more on a straight and narrow track, this would have been a hell of a movie. But for me, it's definitely very messy and it's very all over the place, but I do think there is a lot of potential shining through here, and I'm obviously going to be seeing whatever and either of the Safdie brothers does next. So definitely an interesting solo debut for Benny Safdie. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. And our last film here today is the return of legendary director Darren Aronofsky with the movie Caught Stealing. This was a bit of a swerve of direction for him. He is obviously very known for his bleeding heart dramas that are meant to really tear your heartstrings out and make you cry and win a bunch of awards. And we kind of got the most Aronofsky film ever with The Whale. And I think here's more of a course correction. I think he wants to shed that image a little bit and just loosen up and have a lot more fun. And that's exactly what Caught Stealing was. This movie is a ton of fun. It feels more like when we would get a lot of these more mid to low budget action films that would come out in the early 2000s, the late 2010s. It really hits that perfect tonal balance for a crime movie like this, and I was intrigued from start to finish. Austin Butler is fantastic in the movie. I think that he gives probably his best performance outside of Dune 2 here. I think Zoe Kravitz, for the limited amount of time that she's in the film, was really fun. I loved how the ensemble played off of each other. I think that the more Austin Butler got into this situation and the weirder people that he met was one of my favorite parts of the film. I think that the different cameos were really great. Again, I liked how gritty it got in places and how violent and how, it wasn't pulling any punches in certain places, but again, how fun a lot of the film was. It's definitely a throwback. It's definitely something that was really refreshing, and I don't love it. Like, it's not the best film in the world, but it is certainly better than a lot of what we've seen this year, and is something that I would love to see Darren Aronofsky do more of. So I'm going to give Caught Stealing a strong 3.5 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching this little roundup review, and I will see you with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.